Greetings, flesh creatures. It is I, Megatron. On behalf of TFYLP, I want to congratulate you for listening to the most refined collective podcast on this miserable little planet Earth. Yes. Here you'll find knowledgeable fans discussing every aspect of Transformers and beyond. Now, enjoy the show while I continue my path to complete conquest of all of you miserable biological entities. Predacons, terrorize!
Hi, welcome to TFYLP. What episode is tonight? Is it 505, I think?
No.
Anyway, we are live tonight, November 21st. I'm Lucas. I'm joined tonight by Anna.
Good evening.
And Phil.
Yo, what's up? Shout out to shout outs.
There you go. And Paul's empty chair.
And Paul's almost empty house.
There you go. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Chair didn't speak yet. Give it time.
Is it a
Don't
sorting
actually
chair?
give it time.
If you sit in it, does it tell you what house you're in?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I think it's a worse chair than it used to be. I think he traded out his good chair for a more standard chair.
I don't know.
That's rough. So yeah,
I need a gamer chair.
I haul a folding chair, like a bar folding chair from upstairs in my kitchen down here. And usually by the end of the episode, like once we're talking after the show, I'm staying up and walking around because my butt's sore from sitting on the hardwood.
Yeah. As I say, we actually have multiple new cast members. Phil's empty chair and Paul's empty chair. So there you go. Phil's empty chair made a nice appearance last week, right?
Yeah.
Are we live?
We are
Yeah.
live, Paul.
We're Bill O'Reilly style.
We're gonna roll the dice here on whether or not you're gonna show up and not have pants on or something.
I have pants on tonight. Sorry, viewers, you didn't get a sneak peek.
So
Hey, if they're normal viewers, they recently got to see you eat a toy, which was like the highlight of my whole year.
Ooh. Legacy Starscream and the Fallen shipped to me.
well, look at
Yippee.
you.
That's
Oh,
almost as good
boy.
as my face at the 7-minute mark last week.
Oh yeah. You sold your Unicron?
Oh,
Where,
right.
I mean, I went back and watched that, and even told some of my friends about it, and it was just like, you can just literally see my face light up as I get the alert on my phone. I'm very, very thankful that moment was caught on camera.
Did you ship it yet?
I shipped it Saturday. It got delivered today. The last thing I saw is that there's been I haven't gotten an angry email or angry message yet, so hopefully everything's all good.
You shipped it. It's fine.
Yeah.
How much was it?
$150 for shipping, and that was with a discount.
Jeez.
Oof.
The box ended up being 40 pounds. Yeah.
Oof.
Whatever. What are you going to do?
It was a safe and secure box. That was my main concern.
So, had you opened the Unicron, or was this completely sealed?
Nope.
And...
Totally sealed.
Go back to Oof My World, the special episode. You will see that Unicron unopened because you had the box. You said you almost got a hernia trying to lift it.
Yep.
So you've been sitting on this Unicron now for how long? 2 years?
I don't know, was it a year and a half?
Worth it.
Yeah.
So
And
Phil
I didn't
mentioned
let mine get black mold on it, so that's a plus.
Yep. No black mold free. You should have put that in the description.
is
I
that
don't
a
want there to
issue?
be any specter of black mold in my listing whatsoever.
Is that an issue that unicorns have had in the past?
Just one particular dumbass's Unicron that he was trying to sell on Facebook. He's like, yeah, the box got a little dirty. Everyone's like, bro, that's not dirt.
That's straight up mold.
And then one dude trying to go, the toy's ruined. It's like, it's a health hazard. You can't sell that. It's like, that's a little not true, buddy. Because everything else is in styrofoam, like 4 inches of styrofoam.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Unfortunately, Unicron did find a lump.
So Ron says he saw a Facebook post of someone selling a Unicron in Alaska. Can you imagine
Yeah,
the
I
shipping
saw
on
that today too.
Oof.
I did the math and legitimately considered driving mine to the buyer because they are outside of Indianapolis. So it would have been a 6-hour round trip, but I would have spent less on gas than I did on shipping.
Does shipping come out of your pocket? You didn't make them pay?
No, I tend to do free shipping, but I mean, it's eBay, so everyone kind of knows what to search for. eBay sorts that now.
Now we know why it's sold.
Yeah.
I never
I
do
had it
free
at
shipping. I'm so mean.
Free shipping.
Yeah, I'm happy with the price I got for it and everything. So I'm no complaints until AIRS sends me my tax bill.
Surprise, Transformer Land. Shipping costs money. It's not free.
So when Phil started this conversation about his Unicron, he used a certain phrase. He said that he was thankful.
Oh.
And I believe that is the theme of our episode. Lucas?
Yes. So Phil, what are you thankful for?
I'll be thankful if no one remembers that we were supposed to talk about Earthrise Season 1 tonight.
Did we mention that?
We
on
did
the
mention
show?
that.
We did.
I don't know. I think we
Oops.
did.
Yeah. Well,
Oof, my memory.
It was funny because Phil was like, "Oh, I can't be on because I haven't watched Earthrise yet," and I was like, "Well, I haven't watched Earthrise either, so or Earthspark."
We can still do it Wednesday,
Earthspark.
right? Because it's a
Earthspark,
week
yeah.
from last Wednesday, so we can do it Wednesday.
Yeah, no.
So I watched the show with my son, and unfortunately, he's either had homework and activities or he's been grounded from TV, and we've not been able to watch Earthspark together. Except for one episode. We got one more new episode in.
So how many episodes are you on now, Phil?
I think I'm on the 5th one, so I'm like kind of smack in the middle.
There you go. And what are you on, Anna?
Me too. 5.
5. There you go.
Yeah,
All
I got
of
that
you-
deal last week.
I've only watched the first episode, but what I've been told is that is the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, 45 minutes of fun.
If you're trying to avoid spoilers for the show, don't look at the back of the packaging for the new toys that have been announced. I'm just saying. I'm not saying to you. I guess I'm just saying to our general listening audience.
Well, like, what are the? I mean, are those really
It does.
spoilers?
It does have, so you have to think about it a little, but it does have a relatively major spoiler.
Okay.
You just have to think about it a little harder. But we won't even talk about what that is because we don't like spoilers here.
There you go. So yeah,
Except
maybe by
it's-
next week. We had to wait for book club to talk about it first.
Okay, that way.
Right.
Why?
I'll just
I don't
crib note their ideas, their thoughts on
Book
it.
Club is
Yes.
talking about
Not
season
a book.
1 on Sunday night at 8:30 p.m.
Not a book.
Central.
on the Discord server. Books are anytime. There's only one time. Just fine.
Call
It's at a time.
Let's call it Content Club from now on.
And Zaldron can just be like, "Oh, we talked all about this yesterday." It'll be perfect for next week.
Yeah.
So,
Well, there were some. If you look around, there's some kind of new spoilers for Beast Village USSR, the upcoming movie.
That there is.
There was some key art on
Drink some coffee.
on a mug that was shown in. We don't need to. I don't know if we want to talk about it, but I would say I like what I saw.
I like what
Agreed.
I saw too. Really curious how that's all going to play out. I'm actually interested in the movie.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're in this time period now where it's all exciting, and then when the movie comes
Yeah.
out and you're like, "Oh, this sucks." Like,
Yeah, because the world is our oyster right now. Like, you can imagine anything. You be like, look at a picture, like, oh my god, I can see that doing all this cool stuff. Instead, that guy is on screen for 5 seconds, and like doesn't speak, doesn't transform. Who knows?
Everybody's all excited about Airazor. It's gonna be like she flies past in one scene, but she's a cool toy. It's like bird fly. The end.
Some of us learned how to fly. See, and then you hear like that canyon screech of a bird, and then that's it.
She crashes into the side of a building. Just like the window of a
I can see that too. She just flies by. It's one of the villains just shoots her down. So they don't know what the villains are going to be: Decepticons, Predacons, people.
Okay, so we're looking at this coffee mug now, and there is no way that this is what the movie is going to look like. This is like somehow reminiscent of like the original Beast Wars, and it's not going to be this close. It's not going to be this close.
Luke is like, they will ruin my childhood. Don't give them any credit.
Well, look at that Airazor toy. That Airazor toy looks like a Generations toy. That would mean that they're skewing closer.
See, then I'll be upset because they ruined my childhood with the other Bay movies, and then they'll actually finally do it right and like make everything look good.
They won't do it the way I wanted them to do it. I wanted them to do it like Night at the Museum, only at the zoo, where the animals come alive at night and have their Beast Wars. That's what I wanted for Beast Wars.
That's the premise of the Bot show.
That's true.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I guess I got what I want then, just in the wrong context.
Mm-hmm. You got what Christian wanted.
Christian just wants season 2.
Yes, we definitely got what Christian wanted.
Bots, right?
Yeah.
He
just wanted literally anything, like any sort of bone he could be thrown.
Yep.
For Christian.
So, Lucas, why don't you start us off with what you're thankful for, since this topic was your idea?
I don't know what you're talking about. I just came up with this topic because it's Thanksgiving week. So I am thankful for the Transformers community at large. I think that it's what got me back into Transformers several years ago, and it's just been great interacting with people both at conventions and online, and it's been a lot of fun. So that's what I'm thankful for.
Oh, that's great! Congratulations!
Wow, this is great. It's like, all right, shortest episode ever. We're 15 minutes in.
Lucas showed emotion. Everyone mock him.
So, like, what? Okay, the community. What, like? Let's get specific. Like, was there certain, like, members of the community that other people might be aware of, like a reviewer or I don't know.
It's you. Are you fishing for Lucas to say that you're the reason he's great thankful?
No.
So I was gonna say there's a certain online toy shop that I really enjoy, that I got a new wave of Transformers from, and they're that's what I'm
it's their toys.
Well, I'm just like, I know, Duran used to host this show, and you got involved in this show before I did. I don't know if that was part of. I mean, and you've also gone so far. You've done something. I feel like I've done a lot of stuff in this hobby, but I have not run a real convention, which is also something you have done. You don't just come back and start doing that. Like, that's unless you did. Like, I just want to know the story. Like,
it's really it's kind of like what it is, where I've actually met Duran at TF Expo, the first TF Expo that I went to, which was in 2015? I can't remember if I remember the year, but yeah, so it was at the first, and I was not involved with TF Expo. I was just went to the show. It was one of the first shows I went to, and so like I met him there. I met Orson there from Captured Prey as well, and so yeah, just kind of got involved with that, and then just started getting more involved with the community. But yeah, like I don't know, it was really more the like TFW and Facebook, like the groups and everything. There was a local Facebook group in Kansas City, and some of the guys that actually run the show run that group, and I met them at Planet Comic Con as well, and so just started kind of getting involved from there, and then I met Anna at the 2016 TFCon in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's how I got dragged into all this.
Yep.
Did a custom panel with Sean, and we talked each other's heads off, and next thing I knew, I'm here.
And then Anna was like, yeah, I'm moving to Kansas City, because I think you had just gotten your job, right?
No, it was actually super lucky that I set by Sean, because it was just like, oh yeah, I'm just here. I'm moving to Kansas City soon. And Sean was like, well, it just so happens that I'm part of the Kansas City Transformers community, and you should join us. It would be cool. So I met Lucas, and then yeah, all downhill there.
And then several years later, Duran was looking for new cast members, and I was like, well, I'll give it a shot. And so yeah, I started being in the cast. I think, let's see, I joined a little bit after Christian. I think Christian had been on for like 6 months or something like that. But yeah, and then we drugged Sean on, and then Anna, like, I was like, hey, you're a professor, you should give a talk about Transformers. And so we had her give a talk at TF Expo about, what was it, parasocial relationships?
Parasocial relationships with Optimus Prime, and how he died and ruined everyone's parasocial relationships.
And then, so you gave that talk at TF Expo, and, I told Duran, I was like, hey, we should have Anna on the show. This is a cool panel. And so she came on the show and did that panel. And then Duran was like, hey, seems like you know a lot about Transformers. We're always looking for, new cast members and whatever. Would you like to, come on more frequently? And then we started Microcasters, and that was like, what, 3 years ago? So yeah.
Yeah, about. And my rate of purchasing went.
Right. I think all of our rates of purchasing in the last several, like, just keeps.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But it's cool. I'm not as bad as Peter and Nick.
Be not as good.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Ron says, I'm thankful for Hasbro repaints.
You
I
are.
I'm
thankful as Christian is,
disagree
though.
with that, man.
He's the main. He's the repaint lover. Like, you buy the repaints, but Christian gets like legit excited.
He
His eyes light up like every day it's Christmas.
He bought his multiple of the repaints and then put stickers on them.
Yeah, because this one's Diaclone and this one's Who's He What's It, and yeah, he goes all in.
We are just.
I know what other people are thankful for.
We are just like the weirdest brand where like the repaints actually work for us in a way that no other brand does. Like, it's kind of amazing.
A slight disagreement.
What impresses me about the way the repaints work for us is that some collectors actually want the weird ass repaints that we got back in the day to come back again. Like some of the universe characters that got introduced. They're like, ooh, I want that again in the new toys. or a
T-Rex.
character that was obviously just red who's he what's it. They're like, oh, I need that as a new toy, even though it wasn't a character in the show or anything like that. They still want it to come again. Everybody wants every character to come back, which is really unique. It's just like a lot of them were really just repaints of existing toys to make more money.
Yeah, marketing. They're marketing and sales decisions that manifest into real desires. It's not like a bad TV show spin-off or something, you know? It's like that never gets forgotten and no one ever wants to watch it again. We really want the colors. It's just doesn't matter.
We do. But those universe repaints, when they happen, they haunted the shelves of Kmart for years, right? It's not like they were like flying off the shelves at the time. We were all younger and had less money.
Yeah, but now we look. It's a memory that everyone collectively has, and they're like, I need that. I need that validated or something. You know, like no, I didn't want it back then, but it's cool now. Like it's cool. I gotta have King Atlas as Machine War Starscream now. Like, give it to me.
I would say there's two factors to that. You know, number one is sometimes they just look good. Sometimes they're good-looking toys. Like, I don't have any affinity or whatnot for the Shattered Glass decos, but they look darn good. I've got no affinity for, you know, this is my first pterosaur toy I've ever owned. And I think this deco looks outstanding. So, yeah, sometimes they make really good toys now, and the new paint jobs the homage paint jobs look really good. The other thing, Anna, to your point, they were peg warming at Kmart for ages, and they went on clearance. So some of those might be some people's like first Transformers that they could get, or the first ones that they bought themselves because it was cheap. You know, so you know, there's some nostalgia hits that are coming with that, because the folks who are buying those universe toys, guess what? They're likely old enough to have jobs and careers, and you know, maybe have moved out of their mom and dad's basement by now. But you know, Serge is still working on it.
That's true though, because the reason I know about those repaints, I worked at Kmart, so I also haunted the shelves at Kmart and waited for things to go on clearance.
I just picture you at night, like this ethereal spirit, just like, ooh, Transformers, like glowing in the blue light.
In the blue light, because it was Kmart. We had the blue light. That was a perfect, it was a good story. It's true, too.
All of it.
You're a ghost? Yeah, Ghosty Anna. Yeah, that's
I am. Good. I mean, it's in the screen name and the complexion. I think it just all adds up.
And she would have gotten away with it, too, if it wasn't for those meddling kids and their dog.
Who just kept buying the toys before they went on clearance.
Yeah.
And somehow are you still haunting the shelves at an abandoned Kmart?
I wish.
Of course, now
I get nostalgic every time I drive by it at my hometown. I always see it and it's like some other business, and I'm like, oh, there's my home. Goodbye.
The Kmart that I worked at is still a Kmart, but like it's still like it's just abandoned now. Like you can tell it was a Kmart, but yeah, it has not turned into like a Spirit Halloween store or anything.
Mine's been like 3 other businesses because nothing stay open there these days.
But yeah, I think it's interesting how, you know, we want new versions of all the Transformers, but there's been like 30 solid years of all these repaints and whatever coming out. And so it's like you can never get updates of everything because like it'd just be hundreds and hundreds of, you know, of new figures coming out.
And we're still getting the Diaclone repaints. Those toys had no meaning to us whatsoever. In fact, they weren't even sold in our markets. Yet we get really excited for them. In fact, sometimes they repurpose them and even I get excited about them.
Well, I remember wanting BotCon to make those so bad out of the classic toys. You know, like, and they ended up making a few of them, but they never did. They never were able to do like a set of like, it's the Diaformers or something, like just a whole box set of classics versions of those. I thought that would have been crazy popular.
I mean, what was the closest in 2015 when they did the Dia Rooters and then they did Toe Line and Burnout?
Yeah, that was the closest, but like they didn't do the ones they needed. Like they needed the Diaclone Grimlock and the. I mean, I think part of the problem is that some of those Diaclone toys were like so close to the actual G1 toys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But like Starscream looked like Starscream. It's just all about the deco, or like the decals and stuff. But like a blue Optimus Prime to be the powered convoy, like you were just holding up, that I really wanted that. I mean, they've done so. The blue streak, that was the big one. That's what I really wanted, was that blue streak is blue. And we've gotten all that stuff as time has progressed, so it's really not. The way it happened, a BotCon set that's like celebrating that would have been a big deal, but they kind of trickled it out. So it's still cool. It just doesn't have the impact that it's like 10 years later than it should have been. Although now the toys are way better, so it's like, well, should just shut up and be happy. This is great.
Well, now we expect it too, because the next time something gets a new mold that is based on an original Diaclone figure from a billion years ago, we just expect that new version of the character is going to get his Diaclone repaint.
Well, I just think it's funny too, just the amount of product that's getting released, right? Like the Shattered Glass stuff that came out with the BotCon, it's like, how many years did they release all that? And now it's like we've almost gotten new versions of all that over the course of a couple years. And you're like, oh, hey, cool. Like they've released, a lot of it already now at this point. I've got it on my shelf.
Well, they were able to do some things a lot better than they were, like the Blur, for instance. Like no one wanted Armada Blur and pretend it was actual, like the Fun Pub did their best. They had what they had to work with, but like,
Right.
It's way better as like a real Blur, and Bumblebee's way better as, or Goldbug's way better as like an actual Bumblebee.
I think it's hilarious because I know Christian is like a big point of contention for him that the mold that they used for that he didn't think that they should have used the Bumblebee mold. I think he thought they should use a Sideswipe mold or whatever. No.
The answer is no.
Well, for Shattered Glass specifically, because Shattered Glass Goldbee was a different guy, a different body.
Yeah, I get it, but like if you look at what the concept was supposed to be, it was supposed to be the G1 characters, but their mirrorverse selves, right? But they didn't have, at the time, they did the best they could with what they had, and then then it just sort of became like weird alternate universe-y. Like they were not consistent, and they couldn't be consistent. But if they were able to do exactly what they had intended, it would have been not Armada Blur as Shattered Glass Blur. It would have been a regular Blur. And it wouldn't have been the Excellion mold as Bumblebee. Just that was what was around.
It's interesting how some
B mold back then.
They weren't able to use it. I don't know.
Okay.
They didn't. Maybe they wanted it to, whatever. They had to do something. They have always said that the molds, Hasbro they couldn't do exactly what they wanted. They had to like take a lot of gimmies. It was amazing when something good worked. Because they had used that mold. It was Bug Bite.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Which is debatably a Shattered Glass Bumblebee. Like from conceptual standpoint, it's a bad guy Bumblebee. Just it's a completely new character. Whatever. This is semantics. This is nerd talk, I guess. So whatever.
It is. We're thankful for nerd talk. We're thankful for semantics.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thankful for this podcast. Certainly, I remember going to Transformers conventions back in the day and going by myself and maybe like striking up a conversation with a few people that I'd be in line with, but wasn't, having groups of folks that I'd, stay up till 2 a.m. hanging out with. And, now that I have that, I got that a bit from my, local collectors group and text chain. And those guys are still fun. And I was talking to Paul the other night that it's like, oh, this past TFCon, I was like trying to bounce around between like 3 different groups, between like, you guys and the Chicago folks, and then other folks that are kind of cast members, kind of past cast members. And it's just like, people are like, oh, why aren't you hanging around here more? It's like, oh, because I got to go hang out with these folks and get COVID. I mean, that's just like, that was part of my agenda for the day. But yeah, I'm thankful for the cast and the show here to be able to talk about this. I mean, I joined the show in 2020, and like, there were like, when Paul first asked me to be on, it's like, yes, please let me talk to the people. I've been in my basement. Please let me talk to human beings. That is not a work conversation. I've got an infant and I haven't been able to leave my house. And yeah, let me talk to humans.
It was pretty helpful through the COVID madness.
Yes.
This was a big deal during COVID, like just having this.
Yeah.
Just having you guys to get together with, and this way to talk to other people.
Yeah.
Even if it's not like millions of people or anything, just knowing that our voice was being heard by other humans was nice during the pandemic.
Well, and we even did some Zooms with other people that we usually hang out with at conventions. That were like, oh hey, let's actually get a video chat going with, with some of those guys too. So
yeah, and it's just nice to like go to a convention and know there's a big group of people there that I'll get to. I'm excited to see and hang out with, and the past 2 TFCons, Baltimore and Chicago, the past 2 fall TFCons, I should say, Baltimore and Chicago, were a ton of fun, and it's certainly something circled on my calendar these days of an event I look forward to.
I'll agree with that, though. I'm also thankful for this community specifically, and you guys, of course. I'm glad that I got to meet you all, but having Michael establish the Discord has like really changed my social life, because suddenly I have a book club, and now I'm running a D&D game in it, D&D Transformers, and soon we're going to be doing a Magic League in there. I mean, we're like an active peer group in that Discord, which is really cool. That just kind of grew out of this. Like and we're a peer group too. Like we're all like somewhat friends that meet up. So that's been great for me. It's like having friends that share this common interest, but I actually authentically like most of you. So it's honestly really awesome.
Well, yeah, I don't think a lot of us would be spending time doing this if we didn't actually enjoy the company that we keep here.
No way.
Well,
no way. If this was just business as usual, I wouldn't still be here. If it was just like I show up for the show, do the show, say my goodbyes, don't care about you guys otherwise. Yeah. No way.
She shows up, does her thing, cashes the checks, and moves on with her life.
Well, those are checks.
Yeah.
What checks are you talking about there, Phil?
Yeah, right?
Anna said she gets paid for this. Was I not supposed to know that?
Uh-oh.
Bill's
going to have to talk to management.
I feel like now I have to throw in an OnlyFans joke with that.
No, we're done with that. We have moved on.
I know, but it's just perfect for...
No,
I was not going
in that direction.
That is not my intention with this whatsoever. I was joking that this free thing we volunteer for was a paid engagement.
The rest of us all thought you were going that direction.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. That was still like my favorite moment from PFCon. But let's not dwell on it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think your point, Anna, about the shared hobby that we all have is important for our group, because I feel like my friends from college are one of my main core groups of friends, and as we all started having kids and getting a little more distant from each other, it was harder for me to hang out with those dudes and spend time with them and talk to them. And we have a text chain, but there's a couple of guys that barely text, and they've just got their own lives going on. So and then there's times where it's like, oh, what do we have in common to talk about anymore, because we don't see each other anymore. With this sort of outlet here, it's like, well, what do we have in common? Transformers. We've got Transformers. We've got toy collecting in common. We've got all of that is that shared interest that keeps us coming back week after week. That it's like, hey, how are you a capitalist pig this week? Oh, this is how I gave money to Hasbro this week. How did you do it?
Well, thank God, because otherwise Phil had to spend all of his time talking about the Bears and the Bulls and all that, and I mean that just would be rough.
Or I could be talking to my wife about Transformers. She's like, please get out of the house. I've packed a bag for you. Here, go.
So what you're saying is this potentially has actually helped save your marriage, not necessarily break it up.
I mean, I think she's grateful that she knows one night a week at least. She's like, I'm just going to watch one of my shows that I know you don't like, and have a glass of wine, read a book, do whatever, and you can go talk to your nerd friends about your nerd stuff and leave me alone.
For one night a week, she can pretend doesn't have a husband.
Yeah.
So one thing you mentioned about PFCon, one thing I am thankful that conventions have come back and they were able to do that again, because for a while with COVID and everything, we didn't know if it was actually going to happen. So
yeah, I feel like there's been a lot of people who've just been like, oh, well, this thing went away forever because of the pandemic and things are coming back. And I think that that was pretty. I don't know. I'm not surprised that most things are coming back, but it sure does feel nice. And it's like the convention scene for Transformers didn't lose a freaking beat. TFCon is still growing exponentially, trying to add other cons and them not completely failing. It's crazy how much that's collector scene and convention scene just keeps going and going and going. A few friends of mine, predicted there wouldn't be as big of sales at this year's TFCon because it would hit, it would eventually hit a point and then it would fall back down. It just keeps going up. Things just keep getting more wild in this hobby.
Yeah.
Not untrue.
That was actually going to be what I was thankful for. If I wanted to share, I am thankful for the community and their deep pockets for buying my used stuff. I'm thankful for the resell ability of Transformers. Sometimes we have to pause to actually think about the fact that a lot of other collectibles and valuables just don't really have a resale value. And a lot of other things wear out from use and whatnot, such that you don't get to resell them anyway after you've had them for a while. And Transformers, I sold a lot of merchandise at TFCon and I don't think I lost any money on any of that. It was all a refund, years later refund. So kind of lost money in a way, but still it's so nice to think that we do have this resell and the continued market and just the, we're always trading back and forth with each other and all of that. So I'm thankful for the secondary market. It's nice. I also enjoy being able to shop it too.
I think I take it for granted that Transformers always are on the up and up or stable. I mean, there are some that are never worth more than what they were, or they're worth less because they suck. There's a lot of they make too many. Usually it's when all these things are true. They make too many. It's a bad toy. It's an undesirable character. And it generally looks bad. That all those things have to be true, or a few of them do, for a toy to really stink. And the most important one is how many they make. Honestly, that's really it's the rarity. That's the number one thing. And I think what we've been seeing and been on a good swing with lately is the interest level keeps rising at a rate beyond the production. That's what has been going on. Like I think
Yeah.
I think Hasbro keeps manufacturing kind of like at an even pace, and the fandom, like the old, you know, like when I say the fandom, there's always kids that are getting into this, but I mean like the people that are growing into Transformers, you know, like rediscovering it, and it like is their thing. That is growing there's no stats on this, so it's kind of an ethereal thing. But I think you see it in that aftermarket thing. Like the reason you're able to resell the stuff for the same amount is because people are having trouble finding it and they want it. It's a supply and demand thing, and the reason they want it is because they're new to the game and they're interested, and they might fizzle out real quick, but they might be in it for the next 10, 15, 20 years. If that keeps going, then we're all in great shape.
There were a lot of 20-somethings at TFCon that were buying stuff from my table. You know,
yeah, there were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine too.
So.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't even really think about that, Phil. But there was like this one young kid that kept coming by, and like he you know, I always find it funny when someone buys from you multiple times. Like they don't just come and do one sale. They like come back and then they come back and you're like, dude, if you would have bought this all at once, we could have made a deal, like something like that. But there was a guy that, you know, it's like the deer in headlights thing where they haven't this first convention they've been to or something, and they're just like, I don't know what to do. And I love that. It's just so fun to see someone experiencing that for the first time, and they probably, you know, will continue if they had a good time, even if they probably, you know, spent all the money and they're like, oh shit, I don't know what to do now. I can't pay rent. But they probably had such a great time there that they're going to come back and like maybe, you know, they won't just be a consumer and they'll become like a dealer, or they'll start dealing with the panels or meeting friends. Really, that's the thing, is you meet the friends and you have reasons to come other than just buying stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Which like is kind of the entry level reason to go to a Transformers convention. Because if you're trying to find a bunch of stuff, there's nothing better than going to the place where the magnet is, that anything could potentially be there. Anything under the sun.
Well, yeah, I mean, I
Could
think
be
it's
anything,
interesting.
even a new boat.
I think it's interesting too that a lot of the younger people really are looking for that newer stuff. You know, I had like the Coneheads, they did like a reissue, a platinum edition or whatever reissue a few years ago. And I kept having people look at it and then they'd be like, oh, that's like the old G1 version. Like, I don't want that. I want the new Coneheads. Like they wanted the ones
that happened multiple
more
times.
articulation and everything. So,
well, it's, you know, G1 is an acquired taste, like true G1 toys, because they definitely, like, it's night and day. What we get away with now versus what we started with.
Oh yeah.
Like you're either an old crusty if you want G1 stuff, or you like the new, you already have the new stuff, and you kind of like are becoming sort of a historian in a way. Like you just kind of want to know what it was like. I would just love to get into the mind of someone like that, as someone that grew up with it from the beginning. You know, like.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I enjoyed G.I. Joe quite a bit, and even, you know, into my adulthood, I'm still buying, you know, new G.I. Joe toys. But, you know, like, Serpentor here, it's very nice. However, the 60s era G.I. Joe stuff, I have absolutely no desire to get. I have no desire to like hunt any of that down. I have no desire when they do like a new toy that is like an homage to that. Like, no, not count me out. So yeah, I could see your point. I never thought about that, Paul, with kids who are getting into this and like the characters and like the designs, but they don't like what the old G1 toys did with those designs, which for the most part were like, hey, it's a brick that turns into a brick with wings.
It's almost ironic now to like want the G1 toy, kind of like you're, you know, You understand it, Anna, right?
Oh, I understand it for sure.
With G.I. Joe, it's a little different, though, because they totally recreated everything from the ground up. They have never done that, in my opinion, with Transformers. Beast Wars is probably the closest, but they reneged and they succumbed to pressure, and they've made it part of G1. It's G1. It is G1. It's a new era. They have never, like, stripped it down and taken away Autobots, Decepticons, or Optimus Prime, or Cybertron. I felt like we might be getting close with Earthspark, because like they're like, these are the first ones born on Earth, and it's like, whoa, it's actually kind of like crazy. Even though they've made Transformers on Earth, but you've just never cared. Like they kind of made it a sticking point. Like we've never had to have such a radical change from the initial source material. And now G.I. Joe probably won't ever do that either. It'll always be those, it'll be someone versus the Joes, which it wasn't in the beginning. It was just Action Man, bearded wonder that can kill a bear with a knife or something. Like it was, they really changed G.I. Joe. And I can see why.
Straight from the back of the box.
Probably. I guess that's as far as I don't need to keep talking.
But the thing that's interesting to me though with Transformers is, with every new iteration they change it just slightly, and so a lot of people want that new version. So then you end up with like 50 versions of Optimus Prime, but they're all somewhat unique. Like they're their own puzzle. Like they look different and everything. Whereas, if you're going to get, Luke Skywalker or something like that, you're like, okay, well, how many Luke Skywalkers do I actually need? And I guess there's like a handful of Marvel characters that are a little bit like that, like Spider-Man and Iron Man and some of those where you might collect multiples of that character. But I don't know that people are out there collecting, 20 versions of Marvel Legends as much as they would with Transformers.
Yeah.
Yeah, with that, it's more like just the costume changes. It's still a doll. It doesn't do much else. With the Transformers, I'm impressed, like, with the new core toys, because it's like completely new transformations for dudes you've had 100 times. Right. Like how many little Optimus Primes have they made? And with the core toys, they've really gone out of their way to make the transformations unique.
They have.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing that's
significant.
Cool. Right, like every time you get a new toy, you're like, oh, I wonder what the puzzle is going to be this time. So it's like even if you decide that you want to sell it down the road, you want to check out and see, what that new toy is like.
Yeah.
Like there,
I'm very
showing off Ironhide.
Oh yeah, I mean you could use him as an example. This doesn't really transform like the last two Ironhides. It looks like the last two Ironhides in bot mode quite a bit, and then you transform it feels quite a bit different because the legs kaleidoscope like 50 times this time around. Last two times the legs had one hinge on them. Now they have a bunch. It was kind of a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thankful for the Transformers engineers because I think we've seen with the G.I. Joe Transformers crossover toys where those seem a little bit subpar. And then, my kids will watch YouTube videos and there'll be like a YouTube kids video of like Torbots. And those kind of look neat. They're chunky. They've got more of a Bandai sort of Power Ranger feel to them. But the transformations are just lame. And like one mode might look decent and the other mode looks garbage. And it's like, we're pretty far beyond that. I mean, like Cosmos here is like, I love the engineering on this toy. This is like, say what you will about how difficult he is to get or anything like that. This is a fun toy to transform. And I don't remember a toy that transformed like him when I was playing with him. So yeah, I'm very, very grateful for thankful for the, design and fun of this brand and the engineering that goes into them.
I'm thankful for Cosmos. Faux show.
Put in my kids through cottage.
I love UAP. I mean, this is supposed to be Transformers related thankfulness, right? Is that right?
Sure.
Yes.
You can talk about other things, I guess, if you have a life outside of Transformers, which would be weird.
Well, I mean, that would. Who has that? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I am thankful for. This might sound really narcissistic, but like, I'm moving right now, and I've been going through my collection, and I'm just thankful for decisions that I have made on what I bought, because it's kind of great to look through some of these old toys and like going through the memories and be like, this is an awesome toy. This was a good choice, and just I'm sure there's some bad ones, but it's just I'm thankful we're still learning and growing as a fandom, and a lot of that has to do with the toy line, like all the improvements that are made, and like you were saying, Phil, I think the increases in quality of like the transformations and stuff has to do with some of these same dudes have been working on this brand the whole time. The Takara guys that are still there, like still making. The reason they're making cool new transformations because they've done it all before. They're like, yeah, I know a hinge can turn. Yeah, I know it can go like this, but let's make it go at a 45-degree angle now. Like they're doing all sorts of crazy stuff that someone walking off the street wouldn't even think to do, because they're still trying to figure out how to do the basic stuff. And it's actually amazing what some of the third-party designs have done, because they innovate too. They do some things that are quite impressive. There's some really shitty third-party toys too, so don't think like everything is roses and peaches. There's some bad stuff out there, and it's done by, I think, people that don't have that level of experience, but have the creativity and the ingenuity to like attempt things that maybe more seasoned pros wouldn't do.
Well, I just think it's interesting how everybody kind of, iterates off one another, that they take a design from, a certain number of years, and then you get a new design or, something new, and people kind of have that aha moment, and you actually see that, in other designs. It's like the Combiner Wars mechanic a little bit, where you're like, oh, you just Combiner Wars the legs. And like that's a thing now with a lot of Transformers, like even some of the higher end stuff that they use, some of those transformation pieces.
Like we've talked about, like how they took the feet engineering for MP Bumblebee, and now that's like how the more recent mainline Bumblebee's feet transform. So yeah, it kind of filters down there, so it's fun.
Well, some of that stuff comes from animation, the original animation too. Like they'll actually like something that a dude just drew that sort of made sense, but would have been like impossible to figure out back then. Now we have computers that can let you test this stuff without having to sculpt it out of clay first.
You mentioned the third party ingenuity too. And I know a lot of times we talk about how, we think that Hasbro probably isn't that influenced by third party as far as, learning from them or competing with them or anything. But the third party companies sure do compete with each other. Like when Legends figures first started, like Iron Factory was amazing. Then Magic Square was so much more complicated. So Iron Factory had to get more complicated too. And then New Age came, and New Age caused Magic Square to get more complicated. And we ended up with all these companies just making better and better and better Legends figures until Legends figures finally cost $100. I mean, are great. And it's cool just to see that, like, the engineering and the competition and all that is really fun.
I will definitely agree with that. That like amongst the third party companies, they definitely pay attention to what each other's doing because their business depends on it. Like their ability to stay afloat depends on knowing every detail of everything that's coming out that can affect that very small fan base. And I think a lot of the designers probably know each other, whether they're super competitive or not. I think it's such a small community that they have to. But I think a lot of the stuff that happens there is, it's hyper focused on that niche, and I still don't think the dudes at Hasbro even have the time to pay attention. Like maybe once in a while, like a thing comes through, but
well, I think some of the guys,
I definitely
I'm sure
agree.
some of the designers and whatever that are working on it have third party. I mean, shoot, I think you can kind of see sometimes when they do some of those, like reveals and whatever before, where they've done designer desks, that they've actually had some third party stuff on their desk. So if I remember correctly.
I'm sure it happens, but it's a full-time job to keep up with what's going on.
Oh, right. I'm not saying like that, they're way into third party. I'm just saying that, they might have something here or there. They're aware of it.
Yeah. Well, they know it's out there. I'm just saying, I don't think they're like, oh shit, Bill, did you see New Age came out with a new Grimlock today? Oh, what are we going to do? Like, we got a new Grimlock coming. Right. Oh, no. Like they don't have time to deal with it.
How they do those knees?
Look at those toes! It's got toes! Oh!
They go all by themselves!
Right.
God, I love the New Age stuff, though. It's so good.
Well, I'm sure the Hasbro designers,
third
too.
Party. Paul likes third party.
Hard not to like that stuff. So good.
I was going to say, the third-party stuff, like, Hasbro couldn't even think to release some of that stuff, because just think how much... parents would be complaining if that stuff was that complicated. Like, I mean, they complained back in Revenge of the Fallen or whatever, and they had to kind of scale that back in the day, right?
No, you'd have dead kids from swallowing those accessories and stuff. Like, those things are never going to get released at mass retail. Those are niche adult collector products only.
I thought you were saying they would die from frustration. Just or a frustrated child laying beside a Fans Toys Blur.
It would swallow a small Megatron gun and get lodged in their throat. That's what I'm saying.
That's a pleasant thought.
All of these are.
I'm thankful that Hasbro is keeping it real.
Oh, and I are the bright. We're the bright, sunshiny ones.
So Yay. I was going to ask, did we want to go ahead and I think we were thinking about doing an ouch portion of the show. Did we have anything else we wanted to go over that we're thankful for? Do we want to get into some of the things we've gotten?
I'm just say the rule has income to support this hobby.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to say that too. I'm thankful that I got exposed to you guys at the same time I started my first grown-up job.
I'm thankful for Antoine for keeping the Facebook page alive. Keep it up, bro.
Shout out to Antoine.
That's all right. Thank you, Antoine.
Yeah, I do definitely appreciate that. He does a fantastic job. But between all the things that he posts for, I think, 3 different pages. So he is definitely a machine.
And then he's like the only one of us that remembers to take pictures of us at cons.
He does!
Right? Yes.
He even took a video that proved that I sold things.
Yeah.
He videoed me wheeling and dealing. It's fun. So I have a rule for this ouch. The rule is you have to be thankful for what you're ouching. So even though I am the most critical person on the cast, I am the most critical of all of us as a reviewer. I tend to tear apart the things that I review. So I'm suggesting that we be positive and we only talk about the things we love.
Sure.
No problem.
I love all of it, Anna.
I know you do.
Well, mine goes along with my weird thankful thought I shared. So shall I begin?
Sure.
Yes.
Do it.
do it. This is an old. So this is not like I did not recently purchase this, but it's definitely an oof. Let's start with this. This is what we call the matrix of leadership. Rather large, wouldn't you say?
It is bigger than it should be.
Any idea what this came with? Oh, it opens.
What is that from?
That's the question.
Oversized KO.
An Optimus Prime roleplay kit for cats.
Yes, Anna.
Seen and not seen. He was showing off a matrix of leadership that is about 3 inches long. Holy guacamole!
This
That's
is
how big it is.
This is Ultimetal Optimus Prime. Did anyone remember that?
Vaguely.
It basically is an Optimus Prime that has clothes that you can take off his parts, and these are all metal.
Oh yeah, you could hear that.
Wow.
So there are not many of these types of figures. There's a Megatron, there's an Ultra Magnus, and this is this is very heavy. Like this hurts. This hurts to hold up right now. And this is kind of interesting. It has a pole on the back that like you can attach to it. You have to like screw it in, and that keeps it sort of stable here. Look at that axe. Look how big that is.
That's the size of Paul's forearm again for those listening.
This is 2 feet tall. Almost. Anyways, this is like circa 2013, 2014, I think, when this was sort of like became a reality that they were doing this. It has a remote control that I don't have the right batteries for. And it can like, it lights up and it talks and it does things. Yeah, that's been something that's been behind me on that windowsill for like 7 years. And I took it down today because it's the last of my crazy big things.
Please
you know
don't
what?
drop on your toe.
I still don't regret this. This was a cool toy. But you don't see it very often. It's got like magnets all over it and stuff.
So if you could only
That's how
have
it
that,
attaches.
if you could only have that or the new Robertson Prime, which one would you pick?
Oh, great question. Because they're about this originally the same price. You would say that you could actually say that Ultimetal's worth more because it was, you know, the same price like 10 years ago. So honestly, I'd probably pick the Robeson because I think it's more of a benchmark moment in Transformers history. This came out at a time when like they were licensing out the Transformer brand to almost anything. Because after this came out, there was a $300 large ass Optimus. It was like Mega SCF or something that was very similar, but cost like 1/3 the price. And I was like, I'm not buying these big ass Optimus Primes anymore. But this one is exceptional. The only thing that's come past this in like complexity and like quality of product is that giant YOLO Park Bumblebee movie Optimus Prime, if you know what I'm talking about, which is like $2,000 to $3,000. Like no one has. And I don't even know if it's even coming out. But it's like it's a non-transforming crazy iteration of this character, and it's super large, and it's from Asia, so it's weird. I'm glad I got it, even though it was super expensive at the time, and my whole life has changed since then. I don't regret having bought this. I am very happy.
They're still slowly releasing those too, right? Ultimetal toys. See, I can get Megatron right now at stores.
Yeah, if they make a Starscream, I'll have to get it. But I haven't gotten like when they were. I was kind of pissed. I thought this was like a one-off when they're like, if I knew it was going to be a whole toy line, I never would have gotten I never would have bought it.
But you don't
So,
have
like,
any of the other ones, so you
I'm
come
not gonna.
back.
I'm not gonna get. No, I don't feel bad. I'm still glad I have this because I still treat it like it's just a crazy. It's a centerpiece. Like it's a centerpiece of an Optimus collection if you have one. There's
It could
nothing.
be a centerpiece of your
cool
whole
with it.
collection, honestly. It's really impressive looking. Like that is just that thing has what is the word? Presence. It has presence.
Yeah, I try to make the Black Zarek the centerpiece of my collection, but
Well, people who know what and why Black Zarek is the centerpiece are always going to see that as the centerpiece.
yeah.
But people closer to normal are going to see that giant metal Optimus is more impressive.
Right.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. You can actually do a lot with this toy. Like you can take off all his clothes and he becomes a naked robot. It's just so bizarre.
Yeah, it's really cool. I actually never seen anyone show one of those off before. And it's actually really well posable too, right? Like it's full of joints.
Oh yeah.
Well, it pleases me to be the first.
Well, that's pretty cool though. I mean, I think especially for the era, of it. I can't remember when did MP10 come out again? Was that after that or before that?
Before this was kind of in that era where they were dabbling in high end. There was a lot of product that came out in around, I think it was 2012, 2013, 2014. We were in third movie had come out by then. Just the brand was in high gear at that point. They were trying a lot of weird stuff, which I mean they still are, but the Ultimetal is definitely the ultimate of this stuff, unless you're getting like Prime 1 Studio statues, which are also incredible. What's that stuff that you have?
That's Imaginarium art, but they're done making those statues. I think they released a Devastator I can't remember a couple of years ago, and I think that was the last thing they did.
Now, are those legit statues, or do they have some posability in the joints?
They're statues.
Okay, so this is at least still an action figure. I would not recommend playing with this. I mean, it's so heavy you have to screw it into that stand. So it's effectively a statue, but you can repose it, and it is pretty cool. So it fits its own niche, but it's up there with that super high end stuff, like those crazy statues that are like 2 feet tall and stuff. This is at the top end of Transformers stuff.
Apparently, Ultimetal is now doing some smaller figures. They're doing 11-inch tall Rodimus and Galvatron.
That's right. They are, and those look awesome. And
they do. They look nice.
I did pre-order those.
Japanese style ones, right?
Yeah, like the Studio Ox or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got like the crazy crown.
They look neat. They look really good. They don't look like they come. They look like you can take their clothes off as much as you can with Paul's Optimus, but
they might have found that that's kind of a silly, it's an expensive feature that no one actually cares about. Kind of like it sounds like they're taking the Flame Toys route, or
those are very Flame Toys.
3-0.
Yeah.
Sorry, not Flame Toys, but 3-0, where they used to do these like 12-inch to 15-inch figures, and they've been like, you know what? Let's shrink these down to make them about $100 or less, and like those and they're way better like that. So
right.
Ultimetal's kind of maybe taking the hint that people don't. I think everyone thinks they want giant figures like this until they get them, and then they have nowhere to put them. Like in a more manageable 6 to 10-inch scale is way better.
Yeah, I think the Ultimetal Rodimus is got like parts that you can swap out to go like more of a hot rod look versus a Rodimus look. So yeah, that does still have some of that kind of play features to it.
Cool.
That's pretty cool.
I'm thankful that you reminded me that I pre-ordered those like many months ago from BBTS. So I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, those look super cool. Even though I think I'm gonna go the same route as Lucas and go for the 3-0, the little 3-0 guys.
Yeah, the 3-0 guys are probably a little more budget friendly than I'm sure the Ultimate Metals are a little more expensive.
And they're
what's
less
on your arm?
fragile. Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, what's
And you
on
got
your
like some
arm
weird
there,
thing on your
Anna?
arm.
That's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for my new bracelet.
It's looks like it's infectious.
Ants aren't infectious. They're friendly.
So
But he's very red and looks quite angry.
that was one of the few figures I did not pre-order, and now it's like all you guys have been talking them up. It makes me want to get them.
Anna was wearing Legacy Inferno, and he does fit really well on my wrist, which is not a thing that I expected to ever say for an Inferno figure, but whatever. Yeah, I am just gonna go and say I'm thankful for a new giant transforming ant. And this thing is freaking giant. Like, this is not a small toy whatsoever. This is a large ant. Its butt's just big. It's got a big ant butt. I am super excited about this figure, though. Like, I cannot stop gushing about it. Like, I usually don't get that excited for mainline toys. I'm like, oh, this was really good. It makes me feel better. Now, back to the crushing reality. But Inferno just makes me want to play with it all day. We don't get many toys of robot ants.
So like, what makes them so good compared to, just whatever random Beast Wars toy?
First disclaimer, I really, really like ants. So that is the first thing. So the fact that he is an ant toy already puts him way up in my book. One thing that really gets me about him is just the number of textures. Like, he has one texture on his back, one texture on his middle, another different texture on his head, kind of more of a fur-like texture for the legs. Mm-hmm. It's so many different insect-style textures on him. It's just like, it's really cool detail from a like looking perspective, but it also makes them kind of fun just to play with because you're touching all these weird textures. Like, if you get creeped out by things, it would probably creep you out pretty bad. You'd be like, ew, bug. But I just find it neat. I guess glossy is a texture too for his eyeballs. So that's a weird reason I like him.
I haven't gotten a chance to open mine yet, but the robot head sculpt is just outstanding.
So the robot head sculpt is like, I hate to take him out of ant mode because the ant mode is so wonderful, but the robot head sculpt is just like, I do a lot of complaining about mainline head sculpts, right? I'm like, oh, this guy looks dead, or this looks nothing like him, or why can't they like show facial expressions or smile or look psychotic or any sort of fun things? Well, Inferno does all those things. And he does them as an absolute pro. He smiles and looks psychotic and has expression.
So does the ant look like the for the queen, right? Isn't that what he says?
Mm-hmm.
Does the ant look like the on-screen version, or is it that sort of kingdom, like realistic animal mode that's not necessarily as slavish to the on-screen? You're muted.
Closer just because the Predacons were supposed to be a little, I don't know, scarier looking, grosser looking.
I missed the first half of what you said there, Anna.
Oh, yeah, I heard that my audio let out. Well, he asked if to the animation model than most of the animals are. And I would say it definitely is closer than the other ones are, just because I would say the insect or the insect and spider Predacons were more gross looking, like quote unquote gross, like if you think those things are gross. So that let them be a little more realistic. Whereas I feel like, you know, the Cheetor and Primal and all of them had like such goofy expressionate cartoon faces when they were chatting and stuff. But Inferno just had an ant face, right? He just had a scary ant head when he was in ant mode. And his scary ant head just talked. It didn't matter. Didn't try to look like some cute fable. It was just, it's a talking ant. So I'd say it's a lot closer, yes.
Well, I have to pick him up now.
It's a really nice Voyager. It's big compared to other Voyagers. Here's his half transformed mode. Very nice.
It's like a fuser. Like if that was a fuser toy, you would just be done transforming him like that.
Yep, I would. I'd be like, oh, he's half ants and half blob.
Right.
That's really the whole cast now, right? He's the last one.
Silverbolt. Quick Strike, Silverbolt.
They were season 1?
Oh, we're talking just season 1. If you're talking just season 1.
Talking pre-Transmetals, yeah, and I guess Silverbolt hasn't been done, and either as Rampage or whatever.
Yeah, no Rampage, no Depth Charge, but those will be a later set of them. But yeah, I think this is season 1 now. It's finished up.
Yeah, Zaldron says it's the last season 1 character.
Going out with a bang.
Yeah, no, this
Have you seen his
really
gun? Yeah, he's got like a 4-chamber like minigun cannon rocket launcher thing.
Right? He literally was the silliest of all the characters, right? Inferno. He was like,
I liked him as a character.
Him and Waspinator were like the comic relief, but Waspinator was stupid and Inferno was just funny.
Inferno was insane. That was like his thing. Like he was unhinged, so into his beast mode that it made him unhinged. Like he was so into the role play of being an ant.
He's like
made him.
He's like the Muppet Shrimp guy.
Pepe the prawn.
It could be chocolate in there, okay?
Okay, man.
That's the greatest Muppet they ever made. It took them a while, but they got him.
Look at that face. Look at that face. He's so pretty.
I've read things that say as enjoyable as Pepe the Prawn is, in the Muppets, they've given him the role that Rizzo the Rat used to have. And I kind of agree with that and disappointing because I enjoy Rizzo. Oh,
look at that.
Is good.
Look at that mouth. I mean, it's just good. He is a Muppet. He's the most Muppet Transformer.
Oh, he's the most Muppet. It's just like, okay. So like a lot of the Beast Wars head sculpts have been pretty good. Like they've been pretty close to what they're supposed to be. He is not pretty good. Like that is just his head. That is just his head ripped out of the cartoon and put on a toy. Like if they made a Masterpiece Inferno, they would just make that head a little bigger. That would be it. He's just so pretty.
So with Road Hauler here, we get that expressive face on a mainline toy, which is not normal because they're like the toy designers, they want to give like the static face because they want you as a someone playing with it to give it sort of its personality, but it does look a little boring sometimes when you got all these dudes on a shelf and it's just so having a character like like Inferno where he's got that personality, it does stand out a lot more on the shelf and it has a presence. It's very entertaining. Yeah, your pretender Starscream, Paul, with
You're saying you're not into the principal you grew up, or your gym teacher as all of your your elementary school gym teacher as all your Transformers.
You young whippersnapper. Take
a shower.
God, I still remember the CGI thing that someone did like 3 or 4 years ago, where they took all the Transformers Classics characters, pretender shells, and what they would look like as real humans, and it was so bizarre. I think the Bumblebee one almost looked like He-Man.
They were funny.
Oh, they were super, super silly because they have all those like bloated necks, so they all kind of look like weird bodybuilders. But then yeah, it was really, really funky. All right. I am thankful for Skullgrim here. You know, it is. I will admit he is not the best toy. But I mean, just in general, you know, someone piggybacking off what Paul said there, showing that Pretender Starscream, Pretender toys were a big deal for me when they came out. The designs, even the Autobot shells, I thought were really, really fun. And so now that we're getting really solid homages to these characters, and doing it in a way where it's like, all right, we're not going to do the exact shells again. But we're going to give you something that looks like the shell that still transforms, and we're going to try and incorporate as much of the details from the shell as we can. Where it's like, all right, of course you've got the big crazy like demon head on Skullgrim, but then you've got his belt, and then I never noticed this until I got him and was able to take him out of the package, but he even has a little tail. So all these little details that they're throwing in there, and same with Bombburst and the Iguanus. I'm thankful that we're getting these toys, and they're fun. And again, as soon as I got this the other day, I showed it to my son, and he's like immediately like sat down with it and wanted to start drawing it, because he's just like, this is just such a cool combination of that robotic plus the I don't know if you'd call it organic, because it's a skull organic, I guess it is. But just again, the textures, the two different textures, Anna, like you're talking about. It's such a weird dichotomy, and it's so fun to see. And yeah, he's just, the head is pitch perfect in terms of that demon bull skull looking thing that he's got.
I think it's interesting. I've heard some flack or whatever, some negative reviews on Skullgrin, that people wish that he was more. And that some of the like parts or whatever weren't the best quality, I guess, in general, like with the transformation. And so I guess it's kind of refreshing to hear that there are people that like that toy.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried to transform them a little bit, and I got to sit down the instructions. I tried to do it on my own, and I'm just, I don't know, I stink sometimes at doing that. And it's like, yeah, things don't always move the way you think they should, and things feel like they're bending versus folding, which is not always good. And I don't know, I wasn't getting able to get everything to click together precisely, so that, yeah, he was a little frustrating, especially for a toy of this size and scale. But like, we've had this conversation before. Majority of our Transformer toys are going to stand there in bot mode on our shelves, and for the fact that we have this toy, and for the presence he's going to have on that shelf in that bot mode, yeah, bring it on. Bring on, Submarauder. Bring on Bugley. Bring on the rest of his crew and his ilk, and yeah, do the same thing with Bludgeon, and do the same thing with they've already done it with Bludgeon before, with Octopunch. Yeah, give me more of this kind of stuff.
It's nice to see those come back not too long after they shut up in Power of the Primes. Like, we got the Pretenders in that line, and they were something, like they were shells again. They held something inside of them, but they were just like, they were kind of like they were just an homage, not an update. It was just like, here they are. We remember these. Don't worry, we haven't forgotten them. Here they are. This is what they look like, but now they're little, and that's it.
my son was telling me the other day, he's like, "Oh, you got another version of this guy, right?" I'm like, "No, I never had the G1 one, and I never had the remold of Dark Mount. So no, I never had him." He's like, "Hey, don't you have a little one of this?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, I did. I totally forgot about it." And I just was like interacting with that toy because I was having for sale at TFCon. I might have even sold them at TFCon. Like, I was just messing with all those little dudes as I was bagging them and pricing them, and they're just such a sort of afterthought for that toy line, and just such a disappointing kind of tease in terms of getting those characters, but in a format that was not very enjoyable.
Well,
Agree.
I think all of those characters, you have to ask yourself, like, what purpose did they serve? Because, for us, like, I don't know, I guess they're kind of cool, but you're like, it's almost like an afterthought for us. And then for, like, little kids, it's like, your kid's like, who the hell's Skullgrin? Why do I care? So, I think some of the other, like, the little Titan Master figures that they released, I feel like were a lot more successful than what those Pretender shells were.
Yeah,
I like those better. I thought those were really fun as far as like toys and playability, but I really wish that the Titan Masters themselves would have been more fun to play with. That would have been just such a fun little play pattern if they were actually like posable little guys instead of just heads that folded up.
I mean, like, I think my kids had a lot of fun with them. They really enjoyed it. It may have just been the age that they were at the time, that it kind of worked out for them because, like, I think was it my oldest, I think, was probably like maybe 6 or so at the time, and so like it worked for him for a play pattern. But yeah, like, definitely if you're an older kid or an adult, you're like, it's fine. But what's that, Paul?
I don't know.
I was agreeing with you.
With his face.
There you go. All right, well, I guess I'll go. So my thing was Christian actually kind of showed these off to me, and I thought they were pretty neat. So I went ahead and ordered them myself. I don't think I've shown this off, have I? So these are the stamp sets from the United Kingdom Royal Mail. And so you can order the sheets, but they also sell versions that are framed. So this is actually like how they came from Royal Mail, and the shipping actually isn't too bad on them from the UK. Like, UK shipping is actually not bad in general, but it's like, I think it was like, I don't know, 15 pounds to ship or something. And so I got this one right here, and then they also had this one as well. So they come like framed and matted like this. So these are like the little stamps, and then with it, so like they're essentially collector stamps. I don't think anyone would. I guess technically you could use these as actual stamps. Like, there's like a little dotted line down the middle of that or whatever with the stuff. So, but yeah,
when they were shipped, the package that they were shipped to you in, were those stamps used on that package?
Oh no, they weren't.
Okay.
That would have been interesting though.
Yeah.
They should have been. But yeah, so they have like a whole set. Like, you can go on the Royal Mail website. I'm assuming you can still get these. I have no idea, but I didn't get them too long ago. Maybe a couple months ago, so a month or so ago.
I thought those were really cool because they did the throwback art, and the throwback art was just really fun. I enjoy throwback art, like when they try to draw on old styles and make things fit it. It's just neat.
They really captured the color palette wonderfully.
They did.
Who is the? Do we know who the artist is? Is it Guido?
I don't know. I can't remember who it was because they talked about it on social media, and I probably should remember better than I do.
Yes.
So I'm sorry.
But
I'm
it does look good.
It was the Queen.
Oh, this last piece of art.
I can't. Those ones in the middle they just kind of look like Guido from like those IDW pages that were retro G1 that.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, you know what? Actually, it's on the back here.
Oh, it is?
Andrew
Is this Simon
Wildman
Furman?
did the pencils,
Okay.
and Steven
Really?
Baskerville did the ink, and then John Paul Bove did the colors. So
That's
that's
crazy.
what on this one. So
Yeah.
Did you get the one that was the little fold-out book
I did not
written by
get
James
that one.
Roberts? Okay.
What's the James Roberts one?
He wrote the bios inside of it.
For the Royal Mail one?
Yeah, for one of them has the presentation pack has the fold-out booklet, and Roberts wrote what's in there.
I did not know that.
It's not like you can read what's in there. It's not like James Roberts writing. It's him writing normal G1E descriptions.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I thought that was kind of neat because it's you don't get official Transformers stamps all that often, so I figured it's kind of a cool little set.
You have really entered your Transformers art collecting phase. When are you going to enter your Transformers art displaying phase, Lucas?
I had this stuff displayed on my walls.
Do you? Awesome.
Boom. I like that, Anna.
Well, he has a folder of all his prints he buys.
Oh,
so I wanted to see if it's actually.
So I framed the the original art prints that I get. I framed all those. Now, Rick gets mad at me because I just put them in standard whatever, I can't remember what the size is 10 by 17 I think frames, and I don't actually have them professionally matted and framed. And so I know that when I showed it off before, Rick was was appalled, and I'm like, I'm sorry, man. I was like, you do realize when the artists are selling these that they just have them in an art book, and they don't have them in professional, whatever, acid free, yada yada, all that, sealed up from the elements kind of thing themselves. But yeah, so I do have that stuff framed. The prints that I have that are just the, I don't know, whatever, $10 or $15 prints from shows, I just have that in a book because I don't think that there's any way I can display all of that art at once. I would run out of wall space.
No, I need to start displaying my art. All I have up right now is just those couple of pieces up there. And the rest of it's all just in my closet. It needs to be treated better.
Well, I do want to do, gosh, what was it? I can't remember the artist, where he sold, there's a 3 foot by 4 foot print that he did. Oh gosh, I'm blanking on his name now.
I remember when you got that.
Was
Andrew
Charles?
Griffith.
Oh.
Andrew Griffith did. He did a commission, and it has all the Transformers, and it's on a 3 foot by 4 foot print. And so he did a black and white version and a color version. And
it's huge, right?
It's literally 4 feet wide.
3 foot by 4 foot.
I mean, 12 square feet, significant. That's bigger than rug.
So yeah, I want to display that, but I have not actually taken down some of my other art to put the Transformers print up. One day though.
Yeah, displaying art is even more frustrating than displaying toys, because toys you can at least start extending out into a third dimension, but art you're just stuck with two-dimensional space, and that fills up really darn quick fast.
And when you put it like wall to wall, like when you're putting it beside each other on the wall, like it just actually doesn't look good if you don't space it out a little.
Yeah.
All sorts of aesthetics.
Yes. I'm hoping in my new house I can properly display some art tastefully. That's really the tough part.
I think it goes for all of us that our spouses would not love it if we covered the living room and the hallways and the kitchen with our Transformers art.
Right.
Paul wants to tastefully display his original Kiss Player artwork.
Kids players. I knew what you were going to say.
Yeah.
I knew. You always go for the low blow with the kids players.
Well, he said tasteful. I'm like, what's the least tasteful Transformers?
I am thankful for the fan sub group that finally fan subbed the kids players radio
Really?
dramas this year. So I finally got to know what happened in those audio dramas and got to read them together with book club. I am thankful for that event. It was like a real highlight this year. It was fun.
Was it more
It was just
cringy or less cringy than you anticipated?
It had, I would say it was equally cringy to my expectation as a big anime fan. There were more things that honestly made me laugh than I expected.
A fair assessment.
I mean, it is supposed to be funny, right?
Kind of. Yeah. I think it's supposed to kind of be on that edge of like too suggestive where you just laugh from awkwardness.
Yeah, its goal is not to be super sexy.
Like
Right.
the episode where Otto Rupert, the reason you have that tiny Otto Rupert toy with the big Atari is because there's an episode where he shrinks down to go inside her to fight an infestation of bad guys inside of her. In classic, eat a character, they fight the virus type of storyline. But when he finds the Legion that's inside of her, the Legion is operating a cigarette stand in her body. And Otto Rupert realizes that it's a Legion because he gets directions from the guy operating the cigarette stand and Atari's organs. And he's like, wait a second. There shouldn't be a cigarette stand in here. And right, it's like that. It's just like, it's so weird. It's just off the wall that you laugh at it.
Interesting.
I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
That is pretty funny. I did not know that little tidbit. All I'd ever heard is that the small Otto Rupert went inside the girl, and I was like, I don't want to know much more than that.
Mm-hmm.
So she has
Please
tummy
stop
ache.
speaking.
She has
Yeah.
a tummy ache, so he goes to fight the tummy infection. It's not nearly as gross as it seems like it's going to be. There's in
Great.
the bonus materials, there is a clip of all three actresses that did the three main girls all comparing and complaining about how much groaning they had to do. In which one of them had the most uncomfortable moaning she had to do. It was an interesting little commentary at the end.
Well, I guess on that note, I think that's the show.
Yeah.
So thanks,
tune in
Anna.
next week
Appreciate it.
for yeah.
So yeah.
Always happy to help. I know you're thankful for me, Lucas.
Yes, definitely. So, mentioned book club again. I think Anna, you talked about that. We were talking about Earthspark season 1 this Sunday at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central on the TF Talk Discord. So thank you guys for joining us tonight. And thanks to everyone in the chat. Thanks to Zaldron, Ron. Thanks to Catherine. Thanks to Daniel. Thanks to Osmosis, Dark Held David as well. So
Yeah,
appreciate
and
it,
let's not
guys.
forget we're thankful for all you listeners.
Of course we are.
Well,
Yep.
there we go. Well, thanks, guys, and we will see you next week.
Except for Zaldron.
All right.
Don't listen.